It's time to pull those belts tight, race fans. The front stretch is coming at you, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Dirk Houston.
Good morning, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch presented by Joe's Karting at Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. That is karting with a K. Get to Joe's today. Fast-paced white-knuckle racing, all available in Council Bluffs, 23rd Avenue, or online at joeskarting.com. Give them a call today for single races, group outings. It's a heck of a lot of fun. I know that my family always goes over there around every Christmas time when all of us cousins get together, and we go over to Quaker Steak and Lube, grab some dinner, go over to Joe's Karting, do a little bit of racing, and we just have a good old time.
So you go over to Quaker State and get braver? Is that what you're telling me?
Dirk, what do we got lined up for today?
Coming up on today's show, we will recap the racing action from Richmond and review the Iowa Speedway Pick'em contest. In Turn 2, we're going to be joined again by Rico Abreu to talk about his move to NASCAR and the K&N Pro Series East. Turn 3, we'll have Iowa Speedway's Jimmy Small. He's the track president there. And we're going to talk about his opening weekend coming up here on May 16th and 17th. And we're going to wrap the show up in Turn 4 by previewing Talladega and Kansas Speedways.
A lot to do today, and I forgot to mention this earlier, so you didn't even get the memo. So we're going to have a surprise friend joining us in Turn number 4, John Walsh, we're going to try to have him on every month to kind of talk about the month to come of forecast. Now, it's tough to predict anything outside of 3 days, but he gives us a pretty good idea of when we're going to get some precipitation. I did not say that R word. I said precipitation. Doesn't count. I got yelled at, by the way, last weekend in the concession stands at I-80 Speedway. I made the mistake of saying the R word around a Kaziski, and I got in trouble.
Bad.
I know. They're a superstitious group, and I forgot myself. So, Turn number 1 brought to you by Kansas Speedway. Tickets are still available for the SpongeBob SquarePants 400 night race Saturday night, May 9th, which, by the way, that's this Saturday. It's like we've been talking about it for long enough, and so you kind of get, okay, Saturday night, May 9th, okay, Saturday night, May 9th. But that's this Saturday.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it's finally here. We're excited for it all to happen, and you need to just go ahead and get your tickets. They are available now. Call 866-460-RACE or visit KansasSpeedway.com. Tickets still available for $99 or less. Kids tickets available for $26. So great deals on getting into the races, the SpongeBob SquarePants 400, and all the racing action at Kansas Speedway. Friday night, the truck race. Saturday night, the cup race. Sunday, we're doing the show live from the hotel room to recap all the action.
You know what we should have done on Saturday for all our fans going to the race is we should have had a SpongeBob costume contest out on the mezzanine down there.
You know, I will put in a call to Pat Warren, the track president, and see what I can have happen. Now, I don't know if anybody knows me, but I don't have any kind of a poll, so I'm probably going to... Maybe I shouldn't call him because I still want to go to Kansas
next week. We'll work on that for next year.
Yeah. But that's a cool concept. I think we've talked about it on here. I really actually did enjoy the concept of them going and finding a Nickelodeon sponsorship because it's bringing in some kids into the sport. And it kind of makes, for me as an adult, as a 32-year-old guy, I'm thinking, oh my God, now we're turning this into a kid's spectacle. But it's absolutely the best thing to do because we are losing the younger demographic in this industry and in this sport. We see it at the dirt tracks. We see it at the NASCAR level. It's just not that big family connection anymore. And so you're not bringing in new, younger audiences into the sport to become those diehard NASCAR fans. And this is a great way to expose the kids to the NASCAR action.
And everybody knows that people with kids have millions of dollars to spend on stuff like this.
Exactly. All right. Really cool concept. I want to go over a couple of things before we break down the race at Richmond. But Fox Sports, have you heard about their 100,000 camera promotion they're doing?
No, I have not.
I was watching Race Hub the other night, and this is a really cool concept they launched. And I'll give Fox Sports credit when it's due, and I don't give them credit very often. But this one is due. This is really cool. They are trying to get 100,000 people to take videos while at Talladega today on their cell phones, and then hashtag 100K camera to Fox Sports, and they're going to compile all of the videos that has that hashtag on Twitter, and they're going to do a compilation video on Race Hub later that week.
That's kind of cool.
That's a really cool concept, and I think it's really fun. The thing they wanted to make sure is to make sure people turn their cameras to the side, not held them up and down, because Then when
Pan
it's on,
view.
right, you want to be on the pan view because then when you try to do it on TV, then it's got that up and down angle and it messes with the widescreen that everyone's used to now with high definition. So turn your camera to the side, do the pan view, and do videos. They want to see you, they want to see the crowd, they want to see your friends, they want to see what you're doing in the pits. Got to keep it friendly for the TV, but 100,000 cameras is a promotion. It's a really cool concept.
How about we just do one in here and send it over there?
We should maybe do that. Let's do that.
What do you think they do?
I think they would probably kick us off the radio since, or they would kick us. They wouldn't allow us since we're on ESPN. All right, so that's going on. Big news for David Reagan. He signed a deal to drive the number 55 starting at Kansas this coming Saturday night. He is going to be leaving the 18 team and heading over to the 55 for Michael Walsh Racing.
Bad move.
I think I get the feel. Well,
18's a better team.
Yeah, you're right. It is. I agree.
End of story.
But I think this is a long-term deal because, let's face it, Brian Vickers is out of the car for the rest of the year. At some point in time, Kyle Busch is going to come back. We're hearing sometime around Coke Zero 600 time. So just in a couple of weeks, he'll be back in the car. So I think this was a move that David's thinking ahead and saying, I'm going to be out of a ride probably after the All-Star race, so I need to secure something now. Michael Waltrip needed somebody in the car at Kansas at the 1.5 mile tracks.
I think he could go back to his front row ride. I don't think there'd be a big deal there. It's also a kind of a weird step for Brett Moffitt to be kicked over to the Ford camp.
Yeah, it's kind of now they're all kind of swapping drivers around, and Brett has a developmental deal with Michael Waltrip Racing, but Michael seems to be one of those guys that he's what you want every owner to be. And what we hear, the old story with, I think it was Richard Childress. After a year or two of running with Dale Sr., Richard said, listen, I can't afford to keep running a car, so why don't you go and race for somebody else for a year or two while I build up the funds? That seems to be what Michael is doing here. He doesn't have the money for a third team for Brett to run full time, so he's saying, go race at the 34 team, get that experience, and then once we've got the sponsorship and the money to bring in a third team, we'll put you back in that car full time.
Well, Brett's not fighting it, so you haven't heard of a lawsuit or anything like that or breach of contract.
Yep.
So he's obviously okay with whatever's going on. But
there's always a bigger picture that we don't ever hear about until everything's all set.
Absolutely.
So, and then with that being said, Brett Moffitt heading over to the 34. So this is all starting with Kansas. Brett Moffitt will be at Front Row Motorsports in number 34 car, and we're expecting Kyle Busch to make his return around the Coke Zero time, depending. And he's set to return when his son is set to enter this world. So we'll see how that goes.
Juggle.
That's a tough decision. Do I make my return in the 2015 or do I stay with my newborn child? I don't have children, so I'd go racing. But that's just me. Hey, we all watched Richmond. We saw the end of that race, the thing between Junior and Tony Stewart. Is that Fox trying to drum up a little drama?
At the heat of the moment deal, there was, I'm sure Junior wasn't exactly happy, but it's not a big a deal as Fox made it seem. I'm sure they talked and, water under the bridge.
They're good friends. They have been for a long time. Tony drove his Nationwide and now Xfinity Series car a couple of times.
And
won, yep. And it just, what rubbed me the wrong way was that they were about to go to break and they previewed coming up Dale Jr. not happy with Tony Stewart. We'll hear that coming up next. And they went to commercial, and I'm a sucker. I stuck around. I was like, okay, I'm sticking around. So I stuck around through the commercial break. I came back, and all Dale said was, I don't know what he was doing. The 14 got into me. Well, what is that mad at me for? I mean, Tony was typical Tony. He cussed and screamed on the radio when the incident happened, but that happens every couple of races for Tony Stewart. I mean, he's kind of a hothead. We've established that over his entire career. So, I mean, this isn't anything.
Short track racing.
This is nothing. That really irked me about Fox Sports when they did that because it was nothing. It turned out to be nothing. All right, Kurt Busch wins the race at Richmond. Now qualified for the chase. He's currently sitting 18th in points, so he's within the top 30. He's into the chase, and now there's a lot of people that are saying, well, Kurt shouldn't be in the chase because he missed those first 3 races. Where do you stand on that?
Just with NASCAR's history and what Brian France does, Brian France is going to do what he does. He put him in, and nobody's going to change that mind. I think that's why I don't like the win and you're in part.
Yeah.
I don't mind the top 30 in points you have to have, because obviously he's 18th in points missing 3 races.
Yeah.
He's been fantastic since he came back.
He's been awesome.
So if a guy's that fantastic, he wins 3 or 4 more races, ends up in the top 5 in points, let alone take away the wins just in point.
Yeah.
I think he deserves a shot at the title.
I completely agree with you. And listen, here's the thing for me. I do like the way NASCAR does things from time to time, where Brian France says, no, we're going to kind of twist the rules and we're going to do it the right way. I was completely behind NASCAR when they let Jeff Gordon into the chase. Was that last year or 2 years ago when they let him in?
2 years ago, and see, I wasn't.
You know what? Jeff Gordon got the fuzzy end of a popsicle stick. He should not have been out of the chase. And it was some shenanigans by Michael Walsh Racing, whether who was in the know and who wasn't in the know. It was out of Jeff Gordon's hands.
If he'd have finished in the spot to be in the chase, then I got no problem with what they did with Truax and stuff, knocking those guys out. Mm-hmm. But to add an extra car, I think was wrong.
We can disagree on that. I think I like the fact they did that. It was outside of Jeff's control and in his situation. He raced his race. He should have been in the chase. Had Clint Boyer not spun, he'd have been in the chase. But
if he'd have won, he'd have been in the chase.
Right. But that's 2 years ago, so we can move on from that. I'm fine with this situation because NASCAR did the right thing by pulling Kurt Busch out of the car following the domestic abuse issues with him in Delaware and his ex-girlfriend, Patricia Driscoll. I think he did the right thing. They followed the errors that the NFL made, and they pulled Kurt out and they said, Kurt, we're going to pull you out of the car until this whole thing blows over. A Delaware district attorney found no reason to put any penalties on Kurt Busch, to apply any kind of charges to him, to throw him in jail, anything. So Kurt Busch was vindicated. So Kurt Busch should be allowed in the chase since he did nothing wrong. And NASCAR just followed public opinion because NFL did nothing about Adrian Peterson and Ray Rice for the longest time, and that blew up into a mess for them, as it should have. I think NASCAR was right pulling him out of the car. I think NASCAR was right putting him back in the car, and I think NASCAR was right giving him an exemption. Do you think Kyle Busch should get an exemption?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. We agree there, too.
And I do just because of what Brian France's reason or what he said he's going to do. He said it's NASCAR's responsibility that he's hurt because they didn't have the safer barriers where he crashed.
And if NASCAR follows the rule to the T, Kyle Busch and Kurt Busch would not be in the chase because they said when they announced this format that you had to be in the top 30, and in order to stay in the chase, you had to qualify to start every race, or you had to make an attempt to start every race, and we will give you a medical exemption. Well, that applies to Kyle, but not to Kurt. So Kurt would have been the odd man out, and I think that would have been a major injustice. So I'm completely fine with NASCAR letting him in.
Well, psychological could be for Kurt for a medical exemption.
He is kind of crazy. What a tribute to Steve Burns, by the way. And I feel really bad. We were so busy on Sunday when we were doing our live show, we completely forgot to mention Steve Burns and the tribute to him. I thought Fox Sports did a fantastic job with that.
They did. Real good, real nice job.
And it was such a touching tribute to him that they did. I watched the Race Hub the night that he passed away, and they did how everybody kept their cool that night. I mean, there was some tears, there was some choked up words, and Steve clearly made a big impact on this sport. And I honestly think this sport is kind of in a pickle without him.
Well,
it's not going to go by the wayside. I mean, listen, we're not the NBA here, but having a great broadcaster like Steve Burns definitely made this sport easier to watch and easier to follow.
Well, in 30-plus years of experience, it's not like he was a new kid on the block. And, you see him now, and they're trying to groom some of these guys. I don't agree with the fact that they've been having like Brad Keselowski in for the Xfinity race. He's got a lot of racing left. You got Jeff Gordon in there, great.
Yeah.
He might be in there next year, since he's not going to be racing.
Well, I think that's mostly because the guys that they have do the broadcasts. Listen, I am not a Darrell Waltrip fan. That guy, I'm sorry,
not even if he explains it to you?
He does not have a concept of the English language. I am just continuously shocked at the way he is trying to describe a situation, and he just cannot seem to not fall over his tongue.
He speaks Kentuckian.
That's true. I kind of like having Brad Keselowski and Jeff Gordon, and I think Danica Patrick's tab to go in there. If she hasn't already, I thought she was in there for the Texas race, or maybe it's later on down the line. She's set to go in there, but I kind of like them calling the Xfinity races because, Darrell hasn't been in a car for 2 generations of cars. So there's a lot of change. There's things that stay the same. Everything stays the same in racing.
4 tires.
Yeah, but there's something to change. And I thought I kind of begin to like Brad a little bit more. I mean, I don't hate him, but he gets on my nerves. It happens. It's an emotional, whatever. But I kind of like him just a scotch more. Just, scale of 1 to 10, like 2.
Well, like I said, I think with the retiring drivers, I think a guy that'd be great in a booth would be Joe Nemechek.
Really? I've never got to hear Joe talk. I've never got to
He's
see him.
not driving. He's a blast to talk to and converse with.
His son is doing really well in the truck series. Speaking of Danica Patrick a little bit ago, it was announced Wednesday that GoDaddy was not going to be returning to the 10 car and not returning to NASCAR. So Danica is without a primary sponsor starting with 2016. Any issues you think of them re-signing somebody to take that primary sponsorship?
Well, there's always issues, but I mean, they're looking at it early enough. They're a quarter of the way through the year, so they got a good 4 to 6 months to work on it. So if anybody out there in the listening area has got an extra $30 million lying around, jump on in. I'm sure Tony would be glad to talk to you.
Okay. Speculation, innuendo. Now, obviously, I know diddly about anything, and I get most of my news off the wires, but I wonder. I've kind of had the feeling that maybe Tony Stewart was close to retirement. I kind of felt like he would finish out 2015 and probably run 2016. What do you think about him retiring at the end of 2015 and moving his sponsorships over to Danica?
Well, that's an option, but I don't think he's ready to retire yet.
Yeah.
I think he's got a few more wins left in him, or at least he thinks he does. If his year stays the way it's been, with a top 10 every 7 or 8 races, you might see him step back.
I think any other circumstance with Tony Stewart's life, other than what happened last year up in New York, I think that was such a life-altering moment that I think it really did bring him really close to early retirement. I think I heard a couple of quotes from him that he was really close to not even returning to the track at all. He was just going to walk away from racing after that happened and just be done with it. But being at the racetrack is his medicine. It's his asylum. It's his way away from the world. And so, some of that probably has to do with his struggles this year. I think the rules package change has to do with the struggles, but this might be one of those things that he says, okay, I can step away from racing, continue to be at the racetrack, continue to be an owner. Danica can have a full sponsorship. This is complete speculation. This is completely off the top of my head. So who knows? But do you think chances that might happen? Pretty slim to none?
I don't know, but you probably just blew half our listenership. They probably just turned us off. So
Don't worry. I don't think it's actually going to happen. I'm still banking on he's going to retire after 2016. I think he's going to give it another year and a half and call it quits and move into some other things that he loves more than doing this.
You know what would cinch it, bringing him back, is if you got another cat named Stewart.
That could happen. We're running out of time. We got to head over to turn number 2, talk to Rico Abreu, but I want to touch on this really quickly. Something that I have been talking about for years, and I'm really excited. NASCAR chairman Brian France says they aren't opposed to shorter races.
Oh, they have been for years.
I love this idea. They need to shorten the races, period. He actually addresses, and I'm sorry to pat myself on the back because I don't ever try to do it on this show because I think it's just arrogant and irritating as hell. Plenty of other sportscasters can do it. They have a great time doing it. He says that there is definitely a lull in the racing between the beginning of the race and the end of the race. If we can eliminate that lull, then we will address a lot of the issues that plague NASCAR right now. All right, we got to take a break. We've gone too long in turn number 1. We'll be back around the corner in turn 2 to talk to Rico Abreu. We'll be back on the front stretch.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bay, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
This is Andrew from Kosiski Auto Parts. Kosiski Auto Parts is an insurance-quality used parts supplier that can match your foreign or domestic car or truck needs. If you have a damaged or broke-down car or truck, we guarantee a clean and quality part in next-day fashion. Kosiski Auto Parts, your neighborhood premium recycled parts supplier. Call any Kosiski Auto Parts salesman today by dialing 402-731-4592 or visit us at 5040 I Street in Omaha. Kosiski Auto Parts, our quality used parts will match your car or truck's needs.
Ring.
Hey, NASCAR fans, racing season is here. That's right, it's the SpongeBob
SpongeBob SquarePants 400 at Kansas Speedway, May 9th, under the lights. Come out and meet SpongeBob and Patrick and see the NASCAR superstars. Clint Boyer, Jeff Gordon, Danica Patrick, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Tickets are $99 or less, and kids' tickets are $29. For tickets, call 866-460-7223 or visit KansasSpeedway.com today.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Heading into turn number 2 here on the front stretch, brought to you by Kaziski Auto Parts and I-80 Speedway. Get to i-80speedway.com for all your tickets and information for races to come over the next couple of weeks. The Charlie Clark Memorial Day weekend is just around the corner, so make sure you get your tickets at i-80speedway.com. We're talking to a man who we talked to him last September and had a great interview with you, Rico, so we wanted to get you back on the show. Rico Abreu joining us, driver of the number 98 Motorplex AccuDock Solutions Curb Record Chevrolet for H. Scott Motorsports with Justin Marks. How you doing tonight, sir?
Good, how are you?
We are just we're hanging in there. It's a beautiful weekend in the Midwest, and we're just barely hanging in there.
Yeah.
How are you doing them sponsors, Rico?
Oh, it's good.
I didn't trip any of them up there or screw any of them up, did I?
No, you're good.
Good, all right. I passed that one. Hey, after we talked to you last year in September, you went out and did probably one of the more heroic things I've seen in this sport at the 2014 Trophy Cup. Man, you with no hesitation, and I was just talking to Dirk before you called in, I don't think your car had stopped sliding before you were unbuckling and running over to your fellow driver and pulling him out of that car. Can you take us through the mindset when you were doing that?
Yeah. It was more just instinct than anything. I just, I thought it was a lot worse situation than what it was. There was just a little oil fire on another car, and I just went over there just to make sure everyone was all right. You'd rather do it than not do it and
right.
Watch someone get hurt. So.
Well, I haven't been in this sport very often, or for very long. It's only been about 3-4 years. But, man, I'm just telling you, the way you moved, I don't think you'd have cared if that entire car was up in a blaze. You were going to get over to your fellow driver, and you were going to pull him out of there.
No, I'd have, when you're at that point in the situation, you're bound to do anything. So it's just good that the whole situation is okay, and it wasn't worse than what it was.
You had yourself one heck of a 2014, and you kicked off 2015 with even bigger wins and results. So you're now the reigning champion of the Chili Bowl. Can you take us through that race weekend and that specific race?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to think that the Chili Bowl is such a prestige event, and it's just growing bigger and bigger every year. And and it's an unbelievable event to win that gets a lot of publicity. So that was a great week for me. We came in and we were really good on practice day, and then I raced Wednesday night and ended up winning my preliminary night. So I got locked in that top 4 starting spots on Saturday night day main, and I really ran 5th almost the whole race till the last 10, 20, 15 laps. I just got going there at the end, and the track got more defined on the cushion, and my car was, Keith Coons and Pete Willoughby, they do such a great job of playing cars for the Chili Bowl, and I just had one of those cars that was, that it was just a luxury to drive, and I got right up to the lead, and I knew Kevin Turnell was coming at the end just because you see his name inching up on that board, and I just had to, race smart, and I got to the 5 to go, and I kind of just took all out there on the table and got through traffic really good, and it was just an awesome week. I mean, everything. It's one of those weeks where everything went right. You don't get them too often, but when you do, you take advantage of them, and it's one of those weeks.
That had to have been really surreal, climbing up on top of your car, throwing your hands up in the air, and then the crowd started chanting your name.
Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable to hear that crowd, and I've seen a few YouTube videos of it, so it's cool to go back and think about it and just think how special that moment was when I was standing on top of that car, and then jumping in the Keith's hands was another special moment for me. Just not too many drivers get to jump in that guy's hands, so like I said earlier, it was an awesome week for me. It's awesome.
you were kind of just talking about, that week, and you had such a tremendous week. Well, then you capped the week off by making the announcement that you had inked a deal with H. Scott Motorsports and Justin Marks Racing to race in the K&N Pro East Series. Talk about how that deal came about and getting it done.
Yeah, we always talked about doing some stock car stuff, and we just weren't sure who and when the right time was, and we feel like that was the right time. This year was the right time to put your foot in that door and get some laps in a K&N car. And I ran a super late model a couple races in February, at the end of February at the New Smyrna Speed Weeks, and then got in that K&N car. So it's everyone there did a great job building those cars around me, and I ran 3 races so far, and each race I've been getting better and better. So I'm pretty excited for these coming up races.
So what's it like driving that heavier, slower, less horsepowered car, especially at a place like Bristol?
Yeah, Bristol, I figured out towards halfway through the race, it was more, definitely more my style of a racetrack where you can, hammer down a lot more than you could at Greenville Pickens. So gotten a lot of different obstacles on tracks and tracks I've never seen. So all these tracks I've never seen. But the biggest thing is that you just have to be patient in these cars and just communicate on what you're feeling, because setup has so much to do with the handling of your car and then track position as well. So all these, it's all so new to me, and I just I learn something new every race and use that at the next race, and then it helps me, and then I learn something new again, and I use it at the next race.
Well, it's got to be a change in the fact that with a sprint car, for the most part, especially a World Outlaws car with the big horsepower, that you can drive it with that horsepower. I know that K&N car doesn't have that feel to it, does it?
No, it's just it's a little different. You just you're off the throttle sooner than you think you need to be, and then you're back to it sometimes sooner or sometimes later than you think that you need to be. But I feel like I'm pretty comfortable in where I'm positioned in the car, and where my the sides of your car are and the nose of your car is. So that's the biggest thing right now is knowing where your car is at and what you're feeling when you're racing it, just to let your team know how to get your car, and they can help how to get your car better. And then, the biggest thing is understanding how to pass guys. In a sprint car, I'm so used to just passing a guy in one corner, and then the stock car, it takes about, 5 to 6 laps to pass a guy. So it's just understanding all that and learning it race by race, because you're not going to learn it all in one race, which I wish you could, but it doesn't work like that.
Are you impatient?
No, I've actually gotten really good. I've gotten a lot better. My first few years of racing, I was really impatient, and over these past 3 years, I've gotten tremendously better, which I'm very happy with.
Your friendship with Kyle Larson has been well documented, and you guys are it seems to be pretty good friends. Maybe I'm putting words into your relationship, but have you been able to pick his brain on how to drive these cars and kind of work with him a little bit?
Usually when he comes to he's been to the last my last 3 races, just because they've been near his schedule. The biggest thing is just him helping me with these tracks that he's seen and I've never seen, and where to run and how to get better. When you feel like your car is close, you still need to get a good line, down, and he's been there on the radio to help me, help my angles with my corners better, and just talk about little things on restarts and shifting. He wasn't too good at, and then he got really good at it. So, I feel like I'm kind of going down the same road he did his first few years of his career, and hopefully I can keep following it like my goal.
Yeah, it kind of seems like you two are kind of having mirrored careers. He really exploded all of a sudden, and now you're sitting in that your first couple of races in your first season with the K&N series, and it kind of feels like maybe you're on the precipice of that explosion.
Yeah, I expected to do a little better in my first few races, but I just realized how tough it is. And the biggest thing is when I go to the shop every day, I see how much work is put into all there. So I'm just been very fortunate to be given the opportunity to race these cars. And I think if I can keep putting up good results and finishing all these races, keep learning. I'll keep learning just because. You're not going to be learning if you're crashed out 5 laps into the race. So,
well, it has got to be exciting to be signed with an organization that has teams racing all the way up into the Cup Series, because that can give you a clear path up into Cup.
Definitely, Harry Scott and Justin as well they're tremendously good people, and they got a lot of stock car racing background and in their blood. And Justin races himself, so it's good. I can go to him for information, and he's at all our races helping all 5 of us out. And they own 5 teams together with just the K&N side of it. And
wow.
Harry's got a Xfinity car and 2 Cup cars now. So it's there's a lot of things going on between those 3 shops.
Looks like your next race is set for Iowa Speedway with the K&N East Series. Have you got to do any prep work for that track yet?
No, I actually ran a pavement midget there about 4 or 5 years ago when I first started, and then that was it. But I've watched a lot of video of the past K&N races, and I think doing that tremendously helps. And I think those first 2 practice sessions, you just got to absorb everything and you get a good qualifying spot in, and hopefully get a good starting spot in the race. And I watched the past 2 videos. A guy went to the back and run right back up to the front. So you can pass there if your car's good. You just got to get your car good in those practice sessions.
Rico Abreu, you can see him in the number 98 Motorplex AccuDoc Solutions Curb Record Chevrolet for H. Scott Motorsports with Justin Marks. Rico, appreciate you joining us today on the show, and hope to see you at Iowa Speedway in a couple of weeks. We want to sit down and talk with you if you've got some time.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so let's wrap her up. Heading into turn number 3, and we'll talk with Jimmy Small, track president for Iowa Speedway. We'll get you prepped for that very weekend we were talking to Rico about. We'll be back here on the front stretch.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100-plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Hey, NASCAR fans, racing season is here. That's right, it's the SpongeBob SquarePants 400 at Kansas Speedway, May 9th, under the lights. Come out and meet SpongeBob and Patrick and see the NASCAR superstars. Clint Boyer, Jeff Gordon, Danica Patrick, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Tickets are $99 or less, and kids' tickets are $29. For tickets, call 866-460-7223 or visit KansasSpeedway.com today.
Into the break and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the show. We're heading into turn number 3, and it's time to talk to our favorite track president just down the road on I-80. Jimmy Small joining us here on the show, and track president for Iowa Speedway. Sir, how you doing today?
Yeah, I guess the new guy's always the favorite, huh? Maybe give it a couple of years and I'll wear off on you.
We know how to butter our bread.
Yeah, speaking of that, I was kind of curious. And I've lost track of time. Is this your second season or third season at Iowa Speedway?
Second season. So I started December 2013, and my first season was last year, 2014.
Okay. So you're just walking into your sophomore year.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Excited. We've got, had the opportunity really to dive into our first off season. So, from August, beginning of August last year, 2014, to 2 weeks from now has been our first full length off season under NASCAR ownership and management, and that's been really beneficial to us because it's provided us a full window to prepare for a season, to gain feedback from our fans, from our partners, and plan accordingly. So it's been a really good off season. No rest at all, but we couldn't be more excited for a bigger and better season this year.
Well, I'm excited to find out how you're making it bigger and better, because you guys had one heck of a season last year. You added a lot of front of house stuff for people to kind of interact with and be entertained by, and then the concert with Montgomery Gentry and some of the amazing racing action. So let's walk into how you and your fantastic team are kicking off this year's race season.
Sure. I think before I get into what we'll be kicking off with wide opening weekend here in a couple of weeks, taking a step back and looking at last season, we did have a tremendous one. We are very proud of what we were able to accomplish last year and in our first year under NASCAR ownership and management. And, based on feedback, which is, from our fans, from our partners, which is very important to us, really directs our focus, our emphasis each and every event, starting with scheduling all the way through the end of each event. We wanted to expand upon what we had last season. We had 3 great weekends, 6 major events, and wanted to take it up another notch. We felt 4 weekends was our groove for Iowa Speedway. We think having an event weekend in May, one in June, one in July, and finishing up in August is the best way to go about that. And so we aim to put about 8 events together over 4 event weekends. And after having some discussions with Knoxville Raceway as well as IndyCar, we were able to schedule 10 races here at the Speedway. And then June 19th and 20th, we were able to work with Knoxville Raceway to put on 2 events here. But also on June 20th, after our USAC Silver Crown Series race, we'll be able to give our fans the opportunity with that ticket that they purchased for Iowa Speedway. They'll be able to take that to Knoxville and redeem it to watch the Saturday night feature races that evening. So really excited about or pleased with what we've been able to put together based on that feedback that's so important to us last summer. And so now we're heading into our first event weekend, going to kick it off with our wide opening weekend. The K&N Pro Series will start on May 16th, so Saturday evening. It's about an 8 p.m. start. And then following that race, we'll have a John Michael Montgomery will be our first concert of our Napa Auto Parts Concert Series this season. We stepped it up a notch from one big concert last year to one big concert this year every single weekend. So we'll have our first of 4 major concerts on Saturday, May 16th, and continue that June 19th, July 17th, and July 31st. So I might be going on a little long here, but we've got so much to say, and we're so proud of what we've been able to accomplish over these past 8 months or so.
Obviously, you guys should be very proud of what you've been able to accomplish, because you guys have definitely put my worries to rest. You and I have talked about them quite a bit. I love the atmosphere at the track, and frankly enough, I've said it to you before, I'll say it to you a couple more times. I was worried when NASCAR purchased the track that it was going to turn into a corporate environment, and you guys have done a fantastic job of not doing that. It still feels like my favorite little track down the road.
And it should, and that's what a NASCAR racetrack or an IndyCar racetrack or just a racetrack in general should feel like. I mean, you should feel comfortable bringing your family. You should feel comfortable bringing your friends, and we're all here to have fun. I mean, that's we're just lucky enough that people like you and people like the rest of our fans are committed to coming out here to the Speedway each and every weekend. It gives us the ability to live out our professional dreams by working at a Speedway. So, when we look at this, process, starting in August of last year and planning out the season, whether that's the schedule or the entertainment or how we'll celebrate in Victory Lane. We're looking at this through the lens of how we would want to experience a racing event, because we're all racing fans, we're all sports fans. We want we want the goosebumps, we want the tear-jerking moments. And so that's how we design and go about the entire process. And so for the most part, that involves just having fun. And so it's less of a corporate mentality and more of a recognition for, what we're all here to do. And that's to have a blast, watch great racing, and, get to know more people or see some old faces from previous seasons or anything else. It's just that's our approach, and we're very proud to do that. That's I think the way to do it.
Jimmy, I've been over to the Speedway twice. I was there for the inaugural Xfinity race in 2009 and was back in 2010. Have there been any major changes or any shakeups up in the concourse?
There have. Last year we placed the emphasis back on value for our fans. We wanted to give back to our season ticket holders that have really kept this place going since 2006, but IndyCar started coming in 2007, and when you added the Xfinity Series and the Camping World Truck Series in 2009, we really hit a peak there with season ticket sales and with interest and buzz around Iowa Speedway. And so we're committed to driving value back to our fans, the ones that have been supporting us since those over the last 8, 9, 10 years. And we focused that around the concourse, around the Midway, because, like I said earlier, we've been relying upon fan feedback to really drive this race car, I guess you could say. From all of our plannings based on what the fans have indicated they're most interested in or want us to focus on. And so entertainment within our gates, just outside of our gates in the Midway, was something that came up over and over and over again. So what you'll see in our first event weekend is another commitment, another strong commitment. I would say you'll see some new things. You'll see some old things, like your Monster Energy freestyle show will be back in the Midway. We're very excited about that. And we've got all sorts of entertainment that will start early on in the day, so that way our fans, when they come in through our gates, they've got good eats, they've got good sights and good times, along with good tunes. I
know every track you go to, and I've been all over the country to these events. That pit stop thing that the people can interact with is just huge.
I think you guys have it's a simulator there that you guys usually have, don't you?
We do. We have a simulator. We've had a couple of different simulators in the past, and we're actually working with one of NASCAR's partners to bring out that pit stop type simulator. We haven't gotten a full commitment from it yet, but it's one that is sort of brand new. It's newer. It's nicer. It's more interactive, and so we're working on that pretty hard, because they would benefit greatly from it, and so would we, because the fans do love it. And personally, I've spent at the NASCAR Hall of Fame there in Charlotte, I've spent entire evenings with my buddies working on the simulator there, where I'd be either the gas man or the tire changer. That was a blast. I think we got our pit stop under 9 seconds at one
Career
point.
Change time.
Pretty proud of that, but. Yeah, you could tell I'm a big fan of that simulator as well.
Coming up on Saturday, May 16th is when everything kicks off for you guys. Spectator gates open up at 8:30 with the NASCAR Xfinity Series practice taking off at 9 o'clock. Full day of practices and qualifying lined up, and then the K&N Series, Casey's General Store 150 takes the track at about 8 o'clock.
They do. Yeah, we'll kick it off at about 8 o'clock and race on into the evening. And then basically keep the stage warm is how we look at it, with John Michael Montgomery up there in Turn 4 before we unleash the Xfinity Series, before we drop that green flag on Sunday afternoon.
A lot going on for Saturday and Sunday. Make sure you go to iowaspeedway.com for a lot of information. I think you guys do it some of the best ways of being able to get me information of exactly when everything starts. Getting the who, what, where, when, why, and how on the websites is always big, and you guys do a great job of that.
Yeah, it's important to us. Again, the feedback that our fans have provided indicated that we need to be more specific. We need to provide more details. And again, we're listening to every single Facebook post or Twitter message or reply. Everything that comes in, we're looking at very closely, and has definitely impacted or influenced our decision-making here, which is what we're all about.
Hey, how do fans get tickets to the John Michael Montgomery concert Saturday night?
So any ticket to Saturday's race, the Casey's 150, will get you into the concert, so no additional purchase necessary. And then if you've purchased a ticket for Sunday's Xfinity Series race, that will also admit you into our concourse right after the checkered flag drops on Saturday. So if you purchase a ticket to either event on May 16th or 17th, you'll have access or admission into our concourse for the John Michael Montgomery concert.
Call 866-787-8946. Is that's still 866-RUSTY-GO, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, iowaspeedway.com. Jimmy, as always, we've ran out of time. I had so many more questions for you, but you're too dang good at these interviews. You get all the answers out, and I just sit here and enjoy the time.
Well, I hope so. I really enjoyed talking to you guys. Can't wait to see you here in a couple of weeks. You guys are always fun to catch up with, and really good to have here, just at our Speedway in general, but love having you in the media center as well.
I promise we won't cause any troubles this year. We got a little out of hand last year. Had to get reprimanded. I'm just kidding. All right, Jimmy. Listen, May 16th and 17th, it's going to be a big weekend for everybody. Make sure you get your tickets today for the NASCAR K&N, Casey's General Store 150, and the NASCAR Xfinity Series 250 at Iowa Speedway in the next couple of weeks. Jimmy, we'll see you at the Speedway in a couple of weeks. Thanks, buddy.
You got it, guys.
So again, Jimmy Small, track president for Iowa Speedway, and it's you and I. You could definitely tell when somebody's got a marketing background and when somebody is just kind of getting into this thing, because I think he went for 8 minutes there without us even asking a question.
He went from A to B to C to D, and
right. I sent him a list of preliminary questions. He covered them all in that first 8 minutes, so we're kind of scrambling. What are we going to do for the rest of the time? I love talking to Jimmy. Get your tickets today. We hope to see you out at the Speedway. I know some of the Pick'ems contestants, kind of arranging with them that we're going to do kind of just a hanging out and talk with them a little bit, kind of chew the fat and shoot the breeze, as they would say, maybe up in the concourse and watch that extreme motor show that they put on. God, that's a fantastic time over there. I love going to Iowa Speedway. Get your tickets before they all sell out, because one of these days they're going to do it. K&N Series, the Pro and East come together for the Casey's General Store 150, and that is going to feature Rico Abreu, who we just talked to, and then the NASCAR Xfinity Series. All the great guys we've talked to over the years. Ty Dillon, Chase Elliott will be there. Brendan Gaughan will be there.
David Starr.
Oh, so many great
Busch
drivers.
brothers.
Yep. So many great guys will be there. So you can't really miss out on it. It's great. And just go ahead and buy yourself season tickets. It's completely worth it. I think if you actually do the math, it comes out to be just pennies on the dollar for this stuff. It's great stuff. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back at turn number 4. We'll get joined by John Walsh as a part of the Weather Alert team on Action 3 News to talk about weather in the Midwest for the next couple of weeks. This is The Front Stretch on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
Hey, NASCAR fans, racing season is here. That's right, it's the SpongeBob SquarePants 400 at Kansas Speedway, May 9th, under the lights. Come out and meet SpongeBob and Patrick and see the NASCAR superstars. Clint Boyer, Jeff Gordon, Danica Patrick, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Tickets are $99 or less, and kids' tickets are $29. For tickets, call 866-460-7223 or visit KansasSpeedway.com today.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
It's checkers or wreckers as we enter turn 4 on The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
Heading into turn number 4 here on the front stretch. Brought to you by Quaker Steak and Lube in Council Bluffs, the official watering hole of the front stretch. The Aaron's $4.99 race at Talladega today. Green flag at noon with coverage starting at 11 a.m. on Fox and on MRN. All the coverage is available on the big screens at Quaker Steak and Lube in Council Bluffs. And don't forget to mark your calendars. Today is Sunday Fun Day for US 30 Speedway. Head over to their Facebook page and figure out exactly what that means. All right, joining us in the studio now, the weatherman extraordinaire for Action 3 News, John Walsh. How you doing, sir?
Good to be with you again.
Well, we wanted to have you in the studio as we kind of did last month this time, to kind of preview the month to come. And as, prerequisite, we always got to say it, weather changes in a heartbeat. So don't hold John to any of this stuff. But
how did we do last month, by the way?
I think you pretty much nailed it.
I didn't keep score,
yeah, I
quite
think
frankly. Got all the events in? That's all that matters.
No,
that's what counts.
We didn't. Eagle Raceway got rained out a couple of times.
Did we have rain in the forecast? I'll have to keep a running track record of that. I mean, I
started out
did the
good.
Forecast, and then I think
started out good.
Yeah.
You said practice night at I-80 would have some, but Friday and Saturday be clear. That went just
good.
You're absolutely right.
Very good.
Yep. The first race of the year, the first race coming up the next couple of weeks, May 8th at Eagle Raceway for the National Sprint League. What are we looking at as far out as we are? Are we going to get that race in? Is there a chance of precip?
Yeah, there is. As a matter of fact, it appears some of the longer range models are bringing in a storm system that's going to be tracking through Kansas, and that'll be moving into western Kansas. Again, we're out here a ways. We're talking about what are we, 6 to 10 days?
Yeah.
And then there's another run goes out 8 to 14. First, the 6 to 10 day model, and we're talking about the storm being in western Kansas about Friday night. You can get some disturbances riding out in front of that. Certainly some fronts. A warm front, and it looks like there will be a warm front associated with that. It appears that, there's going to be some rain earmarked for southeast Nebraska that night. Difficult this time of year to say this far out whether it's going to be widespread rain. This is the time of year, of course, when we're moving into severe weather season, and storms become convective, which means they're not uniform. They can pop up at random in many different locations, and so you can have a big, powerful thunderstorm dumping all sorts of rain in a particular area, and then the next area, a few miles down the road, is not really seeing anything. But certainly there's going to be rain in the forecast, I think, for the Eagle race on Saturday and Friday and Saturday, with the rain chances diminishing farther into Saturday night. Temperature's not a problem. We're going to be seeing some mild weather again, as you would expect in May, but it looks like we're moving into a warmer type pattern as we head through the summer months. So it looks like the low to mid-70s, but yeah, it looks like some rain chances. Southeast Nebraska certainly favorable for that.
How about Dan and I? We got to pack umbrellas going down to Kansas Speedway that weekend?
Maybe not on Friday. Saturday may be a different story because that low is going to be tracking out of western Kansas and moving right over northeast Kansas by Saturday. And so there could be some rain affecting the race on Saturday night.
The good news is that I'm sure Air Titan 2.0 will be on hand. That thing seems to be working really well for NASCAR, drying out the track. So maybe a little bit of a delay, but hopefully we can still get that race in on Saturday night.
One thing I noticed, though, it looks like the heavier amounts of rains are being placed more so in southern Iowa, back towards southeast Nebraska. So maybe it'll be a hit-and-miss type of thunderstorm event for them. We'll have to wait and see on that.
What about the following weekend? Iowa Speedway active on the 16th with the K&N Series, and then the 17th with the Xfinity Series. That's a Saturday-Sunday show. What are we looking at there for Newton, Iowa, about central Iowa?
Iowa Speedway is active, and unfortunately the weather is too. Looks like, in fact, we're seeing another storm system come out for the next weekend. We'll have a lull during the work week, and then for the weekend again, there's another low projected to move out and track in a very similar path. Okay. So it looks like the backside of the weekend, looks like it's throwing up some pretty good rainfall amounts for central Iowa, unfortunately, right during that weekend. And then for the rest of the month, it looks like it could be drier.
Okay.
Now, the caveat to all this is, and when we do long-range forecasting, it's kind of like waving your hand in the air a little bit.
Yeah.
But there's some indications that we've talked about El Nino before, and I don't want to get into this in depth, but it looks like that pattern is sort of strengthening a little bit as we head into summer month. What that means for us is the jet stream goes farther north, and there's a possibility we may not see as much rain heading in. That's how Nebraska and this part of the world is sort of affected by an El Nino. You get into how intense that's going to be setting up. We're talking about an event that's happening 3,000 miles away from us.
Yeah, still affecting us.
But if that sets up the way it's supposed to be, maybe drier than normal. But at least the first 2 weeks of May, however, looks like we're going to be seeing above average precip.
Memorial Day weekend's always a big one for fans. I know that Thursday, the 21st, USMTS, USRA are at Crawford County Speedway in Denison, Iowa. Then down in Topeka, Kansas, the 22nd and 23rd, the NHRA Kansas Nationals. They're also there Sunday the 24th. And then I-80 Speedway has a big Charlie Clark Memorial on 24th. Again, just preferences, long-range forecast, it's incredibly difficult to predict, but can we give an idea about Memorial Day weekend? Is that when you think things are going to start to dry back out for us?
Yeah, that part we're really getting out there a little bit. Toward the end of the month, it appears that there is a little better chance for some drier conditions, and we're talking about maybe a 60% chance of drier than normal precip. That's about the best we can do with that. Can't really get into specifics that far out. But having said what I said about the El Nino situation and things like that, we may be seeing the end of the month being a little bit drier. Of course, again, I have to emphasize that May and June is really a crapshoot in the Central Plains in terms of severe weather season. Depends on if the pattern's set up a certain way. Sometimes it will hold in that pattern for a while. If it's a drier pattern, well, the end of the month may be a little bit drier as well. So,
John Walsh,
I'll check back with you. For
always
the
do
part
appreciate
of the month.
it, buddy. We really appreciate it. And we're not ready to announce it yet, but we're working on some stuff to be able to get some regular forecasts out to the dirt world. So be kind of keeping your ears open for that. John, a really big fan. So hopefully we can get you out to the dirt track one of these nights.
Working on some things. My favorite time of the year. I love the month of May.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Not only on the local aspect, but also the national, all the big races. Yep.
Talking about the big race, Aaron's 499 today. I'm going to sum it up for you. This race is a complete crapshoot. If you're a part of the Pick'ems contest for the season long, Chad and I both agree. I think, Dirk, maybe you agree with this too. Don't waste your pick on a chase-eligible driver. Don't do a Jimmy. Don't do a Jeff. Don't do a Matt Kenseth. Save those picks for intermediate and short tracks when that real talent and that knack for being able to work those races comes into effect. Pick a mid to backpack driver, because somebody like a David Gilliland, a David Reagan, an AJ Allmendinger, they're ones that could really sneak out a win at Talladega.
Too early to be behind the 8 ball. You've got another plate track coming up in July, so if you got to take a chance, do it then.
Absolutely. All right, green flag today at noon. Make sure your picks are in if you're on the Pick'ems contest. If you need any help, go to NASCAR Tips from Chad on Facebook. He'll take care of you. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll be back next weekend live from Kansas Speedway. We hope you join us for a terrific weekend of racing and a great show for you next weekend. We'll be back on the front stretch next weekend to do it all again. See you, Dirk.
Have a good day.
We have all been there before. Broken car part in your hand and some snot-nosed punk behind the counter has no idea what he is talking about, but he guarantees that this part will fix your car. You pay an arm and a leg for the replacement, get it home, and sure enough, it doesn't fit your car. Now, learn from your mistake and give an experienced salesperson at Kosiski Auto Parts a call today at 402-731-4592. Kosiski Auto Parts will get you back on the road with your arms and legs still attached.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100-plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.